first of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to participate, and let me express the hope that next year, finally, we will be able to do this personally. I really miss face-to-face communication with colleagues from the NSD and the association members. Of course, I will share our strategy updates today and further on, but I really miss interpersonal communication. Now, let me proceed to the next slide. This is my planned agenda, and I would like to share with you how SWIFT will support central depositories and the whole security cycle, just as Monica mentioned, in the period when tokenized securities will coexist with traditional ones. Because our understanding is that for reasons that Monica impressively described to us, in terms of transition to tokenization, this is what will happen, definitely, but it will not happen everywhere at the same time or in every region at the same time, not for all securities at the same time. And of course, in our vision and in the vision of our customers, there is a requirement that the community of SWIFT users and security market should not be forced to live in a paradigm with two windows, one for traditional securities and the other with multiple platforms with a spaghetti model that will not satisfy anyone. So now I will quickly go through the slides for the context, and our customers represent all over the securities markets all over the world, what they tell us about their strategies. Now, then I will tell you about our short-term and longer-term strategy in terms of tokenization of assets. I will quickly switch between slides. I see the system works very well, and I will be happy to address any questions afterwards. I will switch quickly. Frankly speaking, the first 2 points, the one about low margins and the fact that a large portion of costs of specific individual users is already at a minimum, and there's not much margin for cost reduction. It has been this way 5 years ago already, but what we see now, as we move, as we recover, hopefully, from the COVID market, and based on how markets perform, senior management of central depositories and other market participants now make a strategic focus on innovative projects or innovative classes of securities or innovative business lines. It's not only at the laboratory basis, it's already a preparation for the future, as Monica indicated. This has direct relation to the new types of securities, including tokenized ones, be it real assets or securities or monetary assets. At the day-to-day practical level, we see even today that we as central depositories and custodians and asset managers face the continuous life cycle of trade with settlement, and the factor is 260 according to McKinsey. That is up to 260%, 60 times cheaper if you avoid the intermediaries, or you have to go back and see why transaction did not happen. We're not going into details here, but the reasons are avoidable for the most part. The fact that the parties are not defined in the same way on the seller side and on the buyer side of securities, even if we say lack of securities, which means that central depository may not have securities available at the right time. It's not because they're not available, but because there are operational issues which can be addressed. And what we see here and what our users tell us is that, be it with the new technology or the current technology, all these issues would preferably be addressed together, because in Europe, but not only in Europe, as other places as well, the rules and regulations that address the efficiency of the settlement chain are becoming increasingly strict. The settlement discipline, the fines and penalties and buy-ins which are associated, this is something that we did not have even 3 years ago. In February, Europe will be introducing that. What is also new is that settlement processes are becoming shorter. The case highlighted in yellow here is DTCC, and together with the members through associations, they are switching to T+1. Canada joined that a month later. What is also interesting is the targets. The DTCC set itself at this target to reach this goal in less than 2 years. We talked to our colleagues in Europe, America, and Asia, and all of them said it would be a big project, but every step, T+2 to T+1, T+1 to 2 plus to T0, every step will be difficult to make. Cutting time by 1 day is very difficult. So the question is not whether this will happen, but when it will happen. And possibly we need to achieve some synchronization. This is also what our customers say. Here we publish our annual data from last year. This year it's more or less close to that. At our department for securities at SWIFT, we love to remind everyone that securities account for more than 2/3 of our traffic. SWIFT was born more than 40 years ago for transboundary portion of interbank payments, but national settlement systems in Europe and in the UK use it. So corporations use it. It's a convenient tool, because SWIFT is not after profit, but operates for the benefit of its users. And that also includes securities market. It is used quite a lot on the securities market. Again, it's well, close to 2/3 of the traffic. We also take account of the 3%, 30% of interest payments and other transactions like this. So top drive traffic growth was 77% last year. This year we expect about 11%, which is not as impressive because settlement traffic also grew this year. And again, we have more than 6,000 users and 93 central depositories among the infrastructure members. All of them are linked to SWIFT. This is as far as content is concerned. Now to our strategy. This is something that many of you may have seen already. This is our overall strategy as SWIFT. We're doing our best to avoid siloed strategy like settlements as against security strategy. We want to have a comprehensive one. Of course, we are secured and reliable and seamless. This is what secured our success over the years. Also, we are known as a platform that supports securities as well as forex, as well as trade finance, and of course, file exchange and big data. All these characteristics to be concentrated with one provider. It's only us, nobody else that can do it. When people say that we support payments which are processed seamlessly between the participants and the smarter securities flow would also work as well. I will tell you more about smarter securities and smarter payments. And of course, we are using on the basis of ISO 222 all the all these flexible capabilities that are available. We are switching from message level to transaction level, and we open our platform to other platforms. So if you want, it will be platform to platform world. It's the high level strategy. On the next slide, this is our security strategy. Our key focus as a company for the next 2 years is to help our users. This is what you requested from us, to help with this headache of increased cost and settlements which are not done on a timely basis. So we use IPs and compliance. And today I would like to tell you what we do for tracking, for transparency of securities transactions as they go through SWIFT. We work with our users on settlement fails, and this is done in two directions. First, as has been tradition, we help our users to reduce the proportion of securities trade settlements which are not done on a timely basis. And second, in cases when this is inevitable, we're trying to provide neutral information available to everyone as soon as possible in order to accelerate the solution through exceptions management. This is specifically how we are going to do that, because costs associated with that measure in billions of dollars only in Europe. A large portion of settlement fails are avoidable, and this is what we can do by adding transparency. I will tell more about the UTI, unique transactions identifier. Everyone has solutions, but these are always local or pinpointed. So there's a need to harmonize all that. We would like to show information on both sides of the transaction at the same time to everyone, of course, within the framework of contractual arrangement between the parties. I can go ahead, but maybe there were questions. I think I heard something. No, we do not have questions yet. You can continue. So I used to work in the standards department, so I love to talk about standards. ISO. Many of you know that we have a GPI solution for settlements, which enables connection between the messages. We create UTER transactions. You know that if you have introduced GPIs, transboundary payments are done and delivered in minutes or maximum hours.
Простите, у меня была проблема какая-то техническая. Значит, UEPR – это референс, который SWIFT внедрил в нашу...
UEPR is a reference that SWIFT introduced to payment messages to link participants. This is move from message level to transaction level. So the question is whether SWIFT should include a new field as fifth category message. And the group of customers who developed this solution together with us, including NSD of Russia, they decided no for two reasons. The first, security transactions go through SWIFT from the moment of post-trade. For the reference to operate for both sides of the transaction should emerge from the matching moment, and which happens before the SWIFT comes into the picture. And the DTC announced that they will use GTI for transaction purposes that will then go through the whole chain of global custodian to the central depository. And second reason is that this reference already existed before, and this information is already present. It has the standard 23897-2020, and next year we will work to make sure that whether it is market infrastructure or big aggregators with big volumes of messages, such as global custodians, would receive, clearly understand, and transport messages not only in one direction, matching the direction of payment, but also in the other direction. I will be happy to tell you more details if needed. So the GPI will be introduced, and we will be working more with the market players and participants in this direction. We are building this tracker foundation for SWIFT, and then we'll connect to that a number of services. The most obvious thing is that we provide information on the basis of the tracker to all the members in the chain through notification service, through GUI, IPI, and then we can calculate statistics, which we share as much as allowed by our strict set of rules on data confidentiality, data security, and then we can compare user messages, because GTI will not be present at the same time everywhere, so we do not want heuristic messages. We need a clear set of tools which we are developing now, and there will be also a set of additional services that can be switched on, and there will be a reference connecting messages as transaction, be it CSI improvement, SSI improvement, calculation of penalties based on the discipline rules, etc., etc. This is the idea. This is what we will be working on over the next couple of years. We have a team of product guys who will be developing this together with us. These are the organizations that participate: securities custodians, global custodian brokers, asset management, geographically distributed. They're not necessarily big. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Now to the next slide. This is what we do.
If you look at the next slide, you will see what we are doing. There are new classes of securities, new assets that are emerging, and we do count on this growth path. And for comparison purposes, the magnitude of tokenized assets and conventional securities, we believe that within the next 5 to 7 years, the magnitude will be the same. Well, it will not be 1% to 99%. It may be 50-50, for instance, looking for 7 years forward. This is our vision. We were discussing it with different organizations, individually and collectively, as part of events like our event today. And we as SWIFT need to support the existence of these two classes of securities. If we go to the next slide, in large brush strokes, there are 4 categories of things that we're doing. Firstly, which is quite traditional for IP, for messaging, we need to update our business model and the messages so that we can identify the specific features of such securities. An asset manager who says you will have to buy a node and you will have to address all issues, and I'd like to give you instructions. This is one of the securities that where you act as a custodian. I will send you an NMT message, but you will have to tell me what the place of settlement is going to be. I do not want to actually leave an empty field. This is just an example of standardization. I'm just giving you an example of such messages. And actually, as part of our annual standardization, this received positive feedback, GTI, and as a reference, we are working to address it. And the second thing that we often are requested to do is the people are saying the world that Monica showed, where the with the payment side, this is at the retail level. But as far as the institutional level is concerned, for the time being, there is this idea that the payments will be done via CBC or traditional payment tools, either through national payment systems or cross-border, or for example in Europe or in the UK. And how can we bring these pieces together when a tokenized security deal, when there is information that the payment is made after a tokenized deal, and the payment is made in a foreign exchange, and we are using GPI as a tool, as a SWIFT-based tool that validates and confirms that the beneficiary's bank has money on the account, and we are working to address it, and we hope that next year we'll be able to provide it. Of course, the new type of securities means that there is a new type of SWIFT users, and gradually, as part of KYC, we are linking them to use the same SWIFT functions and standards, and we are working at the individual client level. But the most important thing conceptually is to understand the big picture, to explore it also in terms of securities. And we are experimenting, and we believe that by the end of the year, we'll be able to tell you what we're going to do and with whom. Currently, we are in the process of finalizing that to have a conceptual vision of the SWIFT platform, of its security solutions, and trouble-free performance, and the identity framework could be used for tokenized assets functions and for the entire securities life cycle, insurance, redemption, etc. All that could be live on the basis of SWIFT. But SWIFT does not want to be a custodian. Our rules are not going to change. We are not going to be an economic party to that transaction. This is what we are experimenting with, and this is what we are going to report back to you when we start the experiments. And at the end of the experiments, we'll also give updates. I think there will be several iterations. I guess there should be one more slide, the final slide. As I've said, we are working with, we have worked with Accenture, and this has been successful in terms of technologies, in terms of our learnings from experiments. From the perspective of central bank, digital currencies is one of payment options. And among other things, we need to understand it from the perspective of smart contracts and understand the specific features associated with them with respect to securities. And we are working with many organizations, and I hope that we'll be able to announce the commencement of this effort by the end of the year, and by mid next year, we'll be able to share our initial results, and there will be further experiments, and there will be there will be access to our lab provided. Hopefully, I have not monopolized the discussion and have not exceeded the time limit allocated a little bit, but thank you very much. This was very insightful and informative. I'm sure that our audience and SWIFT users find it critical to understand your forward-looking plans to actually adapt their plans as well with respect to formats and the channels that they use. We have not received any questions from the audience. I'd like to remind you, colleagues, that you can use our chat box to ask, and you can also unmute yourselves to ask a question.
Given the majority of the audience is Russian speaking, and I don't have a chance like when I used to live in Moscow, so I was pretentious enough to try and do the presentation in Russian today, but have you take the questions in English, or if something wasn't clear. I did go through there at 500 kilometers an hour.
Спасибо. Подскажите, а известно ли...
Thank you. Do you know any cases of full switch over to format 20 among any users? Are there any markets like that? Yes, of course. And I should say that there is an obvious example, which is PTS. They made a decision, I think it was about 9 or 10 years ago, when they had the choice whether they would work using 2022 N15 or only 2022. The Bank of Italy, the Bank of Spain, Bank de France thought about it, consulted us, and decided to use ISO 20022. And speaking about national central depositories and national markets, I think there are other users who have done it as well. And based on the information that I have, but I do not want to mislead you. As far as corporate actions are concerned, 20022 standard is used exclusively because it gives more flexibility given the specific features of the investor disclosure. Right. In various segments, there are corporate actions and other services in different segments. Thank you very much, Matthew. This was very exciting, and we're looking forward to having you with us next time. And thank you. This is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I do hope that it will be a face-to-face meeting. We do hope for that as well. Will it be in Yerevan? Yes. We hope so, and we believe that it will be. I have very warm recollections of our previous meetings. Goodbye. All the best.